Namaste, this is Rishikeshwritings, and today our guest is Sheetal. So she's a scientist, educator, mentor, and let's more to know about her journey in the field of education and life coaching. Namaste, Sheetal.
Namaste.
Sheetal, share about your journey and about your scientific researches and the journey which you guide to the people.
Yeah, very big question. So like Anandji said, I am a scientist by profession. I work in mental health and sexual health, specifically looking at the brain and how the brain changes through trauma and how we can use the wisdom of neuroscience to truly heal holistically. So I did my degree in global mental health, which is the intersection of psychiatry, public health, and policy. So I was really interested in not only looking at mental health on a one-to-one level, on a personal basis, but also as a bigger scale, as a population. So how to make populations more healthy, more mentally fit, more prepared to deal with life's problems and situations. Like, for example, COVID happened. How as a society do we cope and deal with a natural disaster or a natural disease occurring amongst a large group of people? So my academic career was mostly in the US and the UK, and I also have worked with NGOs in India, in Goa, in Tamil Nadu, and even in Rishikesh. I was running some life skills projects in collaboration with the UN. And aside from being a scientist, I'm also an educator. I have been in the field of sexual health education for almost 7 years, and I've also been working as a sexual health therapist. Now I know in India this word sex can have a lot of triggering different negative connotations, but the reality is that we have all come from sex, and sex is one of the most natural parts of life. And what I definitely tell my kids and my students is that sex stands for sacred energy exchange. So there's no need to have guilt or shame around sex. Really have a holistic understanding, not only about the body parts, but also about our own mental health when it comes to relationships, when it comes to sexual health, having good communication styles, understanding relationship patterns, being able to flag abuse or toxic relationships. Sex is a big part of life at which, at a childhood, if we were really given these tools and information, we can avoid a lot of abuse that's happening in the society today. And aside from being an educator, a therapist, a scientist, I'm also a sadhak. I have been doing my sadhana for almost my entire life, and only really sharing my sadhana in the past 10 years, and really deeply sharing my sadhana when I started my own business. So now I'm no longer with any organization or any academic institution. I work as a consultant, but now I have my own business working with people all across the world, online and offline, and I host retreats and yatras, which are spiritual pilgrimages, mostly in India, but also in Bali and Thailand and other places around the world.
How do you see in India the sex is a taboo? Like it's a spiritual mentor, they sugarcoat as a sacred, and when we see the West is just open about this. So how the young generation will get a proper education in India about this?
Yeah, very good question. And I mean, I forgot to mention I was born and raised in the US. So I come from I have a very westernized mind and very westernized education, but my heart is completely Indian. And I grew up in a very Indian household. So I've understood very closely kind of this almost disbalance with sex in the West and in the East. In the West, there's kind of this over-sexualization of the body of people, of, you know, you always see, like you look on Instagram, you see kind of this overt sexualization, which isn't necessarily balanced. It doesn't mean that people are free. And then in India, because India is the oldest civilization on this planet, there's a lot of conservatism when it comes to sex. There's a lot of taboo. There's a lot of shame when it comes to sex. So these are kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum. What we're really looking for is to find balance. And, you know, Osho, I know he's a very controversial figure, but he's also brought a lot of beauty in the progression of what sex really means, of taking down this taboo nature of sex and not seeing it as something that should be suppressed, right? Because when we suppress something, that becomes disease. It becomes a form of depression. So suppression is never going to allow you to heal. And neither is an overt kind of in-your-face way going to be a really healing way to really approach sex. So what's really, really beautiful is that we can have conversation like we're having now. Have very open conversation from a very young age, you know, like when kids are just about to hit puberty, this is the prime time where we really need to give them these tools for education, how to understand their body, especially for young girls, how to understand menstruation, knowing that their period is not something to be ashamed about. It's not something that's dirty. It's not something that makes them impure. It is the most natural way and form of being a woman, and it's actually something to be very, very proud about, and actually to find a lot of ritual and power within that monthly time that you have when your period comes. So it's starting with having conversation, having open conversation, and also making this part of the education system where we're giving, I mean, and you know, in India we don't have to call it sex education, we can call it life skills, because we all need to understand how to cope with life's problems, how to understand how our body is growing and changing, and also how we have these crazy hormones. Like when you're a teenager, we start having crazy hormones. We want to start experimenting, we want to start exploring. And if there's shame, or if there's been boundaries crossed and we haven't been able to process that trauma, that also causes for more disease or more problems in relationships, in emotional health and emotional safety. So I think one of the main things, and what I'm very passionate about, is really centering a conversation around sex with kids when they're young, when they start hitting puberty, and also to continue to have these conversations as you grow and as you grow into your adult phases, and having a partner who's also open to that and doesn't shame yourself. Because if you don't have a relationship with your body, there's a lot of self-hate that comes around that. And one of my beautiful mentors said that the body is the feminine, the mind is the masculine. So if you have a disconnected relationship with your feminine, which is a lot of the work that I do, you'll have a disconnected relationship with your body. So it's finding that safety, finding that home within your body, within your heart, to really safely allow for you to explore and expand within this realm of sexuality.
So what are the methods do you apply to finding the balance between mind and the body?
Very good question. So finding the balance between the mind and the body is kind of like finding the balance between the masculine and feminine. We all have a man and woman within us, right? I may have come through this vessel as a woman and you may have come through a man, but we still have the masculine and feminine within us. We still have these two parts of ourselves that needs balance. Our mind is more logical, practical, wants to make decisions, wants to be efficient, wants to be effective, wants to get things done. Our feminine wants to flow, wants to receive, wants to be in ease, wants to allow nature to take her in ways that are spontaneous, are creative. So allowing yourself to have a practice, for example, I guide my clients and my students to develop a sadhana every day. Now you see thousands of women coming to yoga, coming to Rishikesh to learn yoga.
Yeah.
And yoga is actually very masculine. If you look at yoga in its traditional sense, yoga is very masculine. It says do this, do that, do this. You know, it's very calculated in what you're supposed to do and what you're meant to do. So just doing yoga will put you very much in a masculine mind. So if you're doing 1 hour of yoga, you need to do 1 hour of dance. Because dance is free flow, allowing your body to express, allowing your body to feel without having this calculated, this strategic plan of how your body needs to move. The body needs to be creative, whether it's through singing, whether it's through dance, whether it's through art, whether it's just through creating a meal. Something that allows that spontaneous creation to flow so you can be in a dance with life. We're not trying to force yourself on life. We're allowing life to flow through you and you're creating. Like it's not even me right now. It's not even me that's speaking this. I'm allowing life to flow through me. I'm allowing Shakti to flow through me, and whatever is landing, whatever is resonating is her will. And if you're open to receive, then you will be able to catch. You'll be able to imbibe, you'll be able to integrate this into your own practice and in your own life.
We're talking about you are doing your self sadhana. So we in our Sanatan universal culture, like so we have a different kind of sadhana. Some people done a sadhana of the Devi. Some people do a sadhana for the men. Like some people do Yaksha sadhana. Some people do Karna Prichasni sadhana in a occult science. Like some do Durga sadhana. Some do for like Indra. So like they can get the energy of the universe of this structure. So what kind of sadhana you do it and you share with the public?
So first I want to say that I don't follow any religion. I don't follow any religion or any philosophy. Why? Because all religions are man-made and I'm a woman. I do take inspiration.
This is your personal, knowing that all religion is made with men, not women.
Sorry, what do you mean?
I mean this is your personal thought. Like all the religion is made by men, not by the woman.
Oh yeah, it's fact. I mean, aside from Sanatan Dharam, which has no one creator, which I'll get to in a minute, but most religions are man-made. If you look at any religion in today's day, there's Muhammad, there's Jesus, there's Buddha. They're mostly man-made and mostly male-centered because that's how the world has become. Very male-centered and very... The masculine has been centered and not necessarily in an awakened state. Mostly the toxic masculine has been centered. So what my job is and what I feel like my dharma is, my duty is to really understand, to use my experience as a point of reference and to take what's best to serve me and to serve people that are connected to me and connected and influenced by me and influenced by themselves, because I'm only a reflection of, if you are feeling connected to me, I'm only a reflection of you. We are only mirrors of each other. Now, religion aside, I do take inspiration because I'm born Sikh. I'm born in a Sikh Punjabi family. So Sikhi has inspired my life a lot. Because Sikhi, if you literally look at the word, Sikh means student. So I was taught from a very young age to go through life learning, to be open to learning. So I never feel too stuck on one dogma, on one philosophy, on one guru, on one ashram. I am not this kind of stuck person that needs to find one person to be stuck to, because I understand we're in Kal Yuga. There's a different way of creating life now. I take inspiration from Sikhi, from Sanatan Dharam, and from Shakti Sadhana. What I saw missing in my Sikhi religion growing up is the Shakti. And this is why Sanatan Dharam has also, I also grew up with hearing Bhagavad Gita, with watching Mahabharata, with a lot of Sanatan Dharam values. Because Sikhism and Hinduism are very they're cousins, very close. And I also, my parents grew up...
When we read about the Sikhism books and things, that's all little bit similarity between Hindu's culture.
Yeah, and you even see in Guru Granth Sahib, you'll see Ram, Shiva, Hari, Har. It's all these names are in Sikhi because Sikhi is a very new religion, only 14th century. But it's a very universal and very beautiful religion if you really deeply understand Sikhi. So you can understand that these philosophies, these ways, Guru Nanak was not only a spiritual leader but an activist, a social activist. He fought for the people who didn't have a voice. So did Guru Gobind Singh Ji. He stood up against injustice. So when I look at this as a modern day Indian woman living, raised in the West, living in India, the path I choose is a path of least resistance, is a path of Tantra. To me, Tantra is a tool for expansion. And Tantra truly honors the divine feminine. Tantra centers Devi, Shakti, divine feminine. And I honestly believe with my full heart that the way that the world will heal is when we all start honoring the divine feminine, not only within us, but around us. Because this is how we can even look at Mother Earth, Ma Ganga, the air, the sun. These are all my gurus. Nature. These all teach us so much.
Like we have a Dattatreya, so Dattatreya have a 14 guru which will be associated with the nature, like ant, dog, nature, water, the tree.
Yes. And so we don't really need to get too bogged down by any religious code. I am following my dharma, swadharma, my purpose in life, right? And they say for you to have a holistic, happy life that you should have a career, a loving relationship, and something you're doing for yourself. So your purpose, your career, relationships that truly honor and love you will create for a holistic, happy, healthy life.
You being a tennis champion, like you in a tennis sports. So how important the sports in the life and how important the role of sports in the mental health?
Yeah, very good question. So yes, I am a tennis champion. I was a tennis champion in the US and I played for my high school and college. And I think any kind of physical activity is very important for mental health. any kind of movement, you know, whether it's that you're moving through yoga, whether you're moving through dance, whether you're moving through swimming, your body needs movement. And you know, in today's society, we unfortunately get too stuck on our phones, on our laptops, on our chairs, and movement is so important. We forget to move our bodies. Once we move our body, once we're allowing ourselves to get in that state of flow, a lot of our brain is able to kind of get into that state and actually function more properly. More oxygen is brought to our brain, more our blood is allowed to circulate. So tennis is really a really beautiful sport because it's 80% mental. Actually, half the girls I beat when I was young, I got them mentally because I was very mentally strong. And
beat with the ball or beat with the
no mind
tennis racket?
no violence. Just beating with the mind, because mentally, tennis is a very athletic game, but it's also very mental, which is why yoga and meditation go so beautifully with this. And I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was playing tennis tournaments in the Deep South in Alabama, the United States, I would always go on the side before my tennis matches and do my sadhana, do my meditation.
We called it Alabama, but okay, this is the actual pronunciation, Alabama.
Okay. Alabama, yeah. And I was only Indian, and before my tennis matches, I would do my meditation or do my sadhana. And all the white girls would laugh at me. It's like, what is she doing? Ha ha ha. And I would also laugh at them because I had no language to articulate, main kya kar rahi hu? You know, like I just saw my parents doing this and I knew my body needed this. I had no words to articulate what I was doing for them. Now, fast forward 20 years later, they're like, oh, Sheetal, you were doing yoga and meditation before your tennis matches. I was like, yes. They said, oh, can you please come teach us now? So now, you know, they're waking up. The people in the West have fully woken up to the richest.
This is a $1 million industry now.
Yeah, billion dollar. But I never thought to share my sadhana. I never thought to share my practice because it was very personal, it was very sacred. And also we were, you know, Indians were ridiculed for a very long time. We were kind of taught to keep our head down, work hard, not getting too involved in white culture or mainstream culture in the US, especially in the West. But now there's a revival, right? Now being Indian is the most trendy thing that's happening now. Everyone and their mom wants to be Indian and learn yoga and have Indian food and wear sari and wear bindi, which is great. Yeah. We love
they all are coming as a form of workshops that they will teach you how to wear sari. When we go to the now in yoga teacher training, like they do a sari ceremony, they do a Bollywood dance ceremony, they included on the yoga teacher training, but it's a new trending fashioning way.
Yeah, because being Indian has become so trendy. Everyone is like, wow, what beauty, what colors, what bhav, you know, Bharat, bhav, rag, tal. This bhav that we have, this bhakti that we have, you cannot experience this anywhere else. The West is so dry. I mean, I'm from the West. I was born and raised in the West. But this bhakti, never experienced. They will have this bhakti for football teams and soccer leagues.
When we search in a Google, like they have the musician there. They have a more creativity, infrastructures and things. And when we see in India, there is something different. We have it. So where their bhav is going on, like emotions going on.
Yeah, so like I was saying, the bhav in the West is more connected to football teams, soccer, maybe entertainment, maybe you know, musicians or artists. But this bhav that we have for Bhagwan, for God, this I haven't experienced anywhere. This you don't see anywhere. This energy, this power, this love, this prem for God, you don't experience anywhere. And they say, you know, if you want to find God, come to India. If you're looking for God, come to India. Because you feel God here, you experience God here.
How was your experience while working with the United Nations? Is it a real organization working for the humanity, or it's an organization to make $1 million industry?
So look, all these
because they got all the funds from all the countries and then distribute it.
So all these organizations, you know, what I learned through my working with the UN, working with the WHO, working with other big organizations in the UK and in the US, is that every organization has their own invested interest. Every organization...
Interest or loopholes?
Interest, some loopholes as well. But every organization has their own interest of what they're trying to accomplish. So what I thought, you know, when I was very naive and young, I thought that if I combined forces with a big organization, I would have more impact. I would have more impact on creating more health, creating more education around sex, around mental health, around bringing people to meditation more. But what I found was sometimes that these organizations lack that on the ground realness, the on the ground reality of what's happening. They have a lot of money, but it doesn't really translate to actually impact. So after I started working with you and I saw that, oh wow, you know, like these people have the best intentions, but don't really understand the way in which work needs to be done, especially in this society in this way. So actually, you know, working with them really inspired me to start my own business. That really showed me that, Sheetal, now it's the time for you to step up, step into your power, and know that you can create a bigger impact doing this with collaborating with people who are aligned with you. Not necessarily giving your power away to an organization just because they have a big name. You know, all these organizations have a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of red tape. They sound great, they sound beautiful, but nothing is as it seems. You have to go deeper, you have to look deeper. Look deeper within what's really, really happening.
When you arrived in India, you started your bike journey. Tell me about your bike journey, how it started and which bike you drive, and how you met the life of India. You visited the villages and things, meet the people.
So I mean, like I said,
how different you found it, like the villages of America and the villages of India?
Oh, raat din ki farak hai. I strongly feel if you want to experience real India, you come to village. Because village, you feel the soul of India. You feel the power, the beauty, the reality of India. You feel the connection to Mother Nature. That connection, waking up with the sun, going to sleep when the sun goes down, the connection to cows and animals, and even in the community. You know, you don't have this community experience in the West. So like I said, I grew up in the West. I've been coming to India since I was a kid, but mostly coming to India with my parents, right? When I was a kid, I would go to our pind, go to our village in Punjab.
Like in India, we have a Bollywood movie, Namaste London. So they bring her daughter to the India, Punjab, just moving to Haridwar and Rishikesh.
Yeah, so it was very much through my parents' lens, right? So I didn't get to experience India through my own lens until I was in my 20s. When I was in my early 20s, I was like, I want to now experience India for myself. Because now I'm grown and I want to understand my connection with my motherland. I want to decolonize my mind in my experience of what I have experienced. So I did my studies in London at King's College London, and I had a professor there, Dr. Vikram Patel, who started an organization in Goa called Sangat. And I decided to take a job there managing the addictions research group. And that's when I started to learn how to ride a bike. And from there, once I decided that Goa was not a place for me because I didn't necessarily like Goan lifestyle. It was very Western, and I didn't come to leave the West to come live in the West.
Before the Vasco da Gama come, so the Goa lifestyle was like Indian traditional lifestyle. But after the conversion happened with the Portuguese, so then the lifestyle changes in Goa. So that's how I felt. It was very Western for me. And you know, Goa is a beautiful place for a holiday, for a vacation, but for someone like me, I was looking for something a bit more real, a bit more down to earth, a bit more grounded. And I didn't really find that in Goa. So when I left Goa is when we decided to take a bike trip. I went on my Royal Enfield Thunderbird. It was a maroon color Thunderbird. And we drove from Goa to Leh Ladakh by bike. And I've gone on many trips like that, many bike trips. And to be honest, it is one of the most liberating, freeing, most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. Because you really get to see India very close up, very intimately, from the smallest villages, and you see like the love of people. You know, one of the main reasons I've chosen to live in India over living in the US or anywhere else is because the amount of love I get to experience here. From people who have nothing to offering you like ajo, chai pio, khana khalo, just having this curiosity in you. I was making an interview with the Jamie Alter, whose father is Tom Alter, is a very big Bollywood star in Indian cinema. So he's a British but American, like born in India. So he makes like his family, after partition of India in 1947, his family lived in Dehradun. So he studied in Missouri, and he done a very good roles in Indian movie as a Gora, the British Gora. So his father sent him to America for education, and suddenly he went to one shop in America. So he says, "Paji, chai wai milegi ki nahi milegi?" So the Sardarji was shocked. So how the Gora can speak that's such a nice Hindi? And they say, no, you don't have to pay anything. Just sit and we can have a chat.
Yeah. So this beauty, this culture, this openness, this
even he have an Indian passport. So whenever he in the line, so the immigration officer was shocked why he have Indian passport, because he is a Gora.
Gora, wow, yeah. And that is also the beauty of India. Right? India is all accepting. India accepts all. You'll find all people here.
Yeah.
Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, all types of people. And from all walks of land. This is why India is the most tantric place to be. Because there's no denial. There's no hiding what's real.
Yeah.
You see everything in front. And this is why India is so alive. This is why Western people are going crazy to come here, because the Western way of life is completely washed. Everything looks perfect. You see perfect house.
Structured, basically.
Structured, clean, like, this looking perfect. Looking perfect on the outside. Andar se kuch aur ho raha hai. The trash is going somewhere else. The trash is still being dumped in the ocean, but it still looks perfect. Here, the trash is right in front of you. Everything is in front of you. And that is, a big also work of our generation, is really creating more systems that can effectively create this problem of pollution of trash better, especially for the environment. I think this is one of our biggest work as people who are awakened and who are looking to make the society more progressive, is really creating more education around pollution, around sanitation, around hygiene, around water, and creating it better for the generations to come.
And how many places in India you traveled with your bike?
Oh gosh, that's very hard to count. I traveled many places. I mean, I've traveled from Goa to Leh-Ladakh, all over Himachal, from all over Uttarakhand, Yamunotri, Gangotri. Actually, during lockdown, this is actually a really good story. So in 2019, I realized that America is going to shit, and I decided to leave the US. I sold everything I had, a Mercedes Benz.
Because of Donald Trump?
Because of Trump, and just a lot of racism was coming back. A lot of problems were coming back, and I just felt like America is not the place I can see myself growing. So I had this really strong intuitive hit to leave the US, and I thought, I actually got offered to do my PhD in London. My plan was to go to India 2 or 3 months to enjoy,
what
travel.
What subject you done at PhD?
Global mental health, so psychiatric epidemiology. Looking at.
So can you explain in a very simplest form, because it's a very complex scientific term?
I'll explain after I finish this.
Okay.
So what I was saying was that I was going to do my PhD in London, and then I thought I was going to come to India for 2 or 3 months to travel. When COVID happened, I was stuck in Rishikesh, and we got locked down here. Me and one of my friends from Sweden, her name is Anna, she was also stuck with me. So we were in Rishikesh for 3 months, and then there was one day during lockdown, June 7th, when it opened. So then we went to my Guruji's ashram in Uttarakashi. So I was in Uttarakashi for 3 months, and every day of COVID.
Netala?
I was in Bareti Chungi. Fauji Baba, Barfani Baba. He showed me so much love and so much compassion, and really brought me in. And there I was able to teach kids yoga, science, English. Every day of lockdown, I had Ganga Sanan. Every day of lockdown, in Ganga Sanan. And I was in Himalayas every day of lockdown. And from Uttarakashi, I was in Gangotri for 1 month. And I was the only woman that could speak Hindi and English amongst all these sadhus, sant, fakir, and Fauj. So COVID 2020 for me was one of the best.
Fauj is also there, huh?
Yeah, Fauj is also there in Lanka. So Guruji's Stan is in Lanka, and I was staying there for a month. And this was the most, I think, if I ever had any doubt in God, this was when I realized that I am so divinely protected. While the whole world was burning, I was in Jannat. I was in heaven. And that's also why the work I do today of really bringing people.
Jannat is the Farsi word, na?
Jannat. Jannat. Heaven. I was in heaven.
Okay.
And I bring people now to Uttarakashi and Gangotri to experience this bliss, to experience this divine beauty, this divine intervention, because the energy there is so powerful. It's so empowering, and it gives you so much. That land gives you so much, which is why it's my honor and my pleasure to bring people who feel aligned to my work, to bring them to Gangotri, to bring them to Uttarakashi, even to Rishikesh. Rishikesh is the gateway, the starting point, but there's so much beyond Rishikesh.
How do you see the Rishikesh now? Big buildings, and before that it was not a big building.
This is a difficult question. So the first time I came to Rishikesh was over 10 years ago. And I was completely fell in love. It was a completely different time in Rishikesh. Very simple. Like you were like in a different time. You know, it's like only for really honest, dedicated, sacred seekers. And it was very simple that time. You know, very less commercial. Over the years, Rishikesh has, especially after COVID, to be honest, before COVID, it was something else. After COVID, I saw this commercialization, this capitalization, this westernization really overtake Rishikesh, which prompted me to leave and move to Himachal Pradesh. What's really keeping Rishikesh still intact is Ma Ganga and Himalaya, but this commercialization has really come very, very fast, and it's created the essence of Rishikesh to kind of be a little watered down and taken over by this commercialization. You know, you see Domino's here, Burger King. When I saw this, I was like, oh God, this is what we were trying to escape in the West, and now it's here. But I've accepted it, that it's, you know, this is part of the development, this is part of growth. Rishikesh is also developing very fast, and I hope that the way that it's developing, it can also be maintained. It can also be sustained. The beauty, the essence, people can come here to learn, yoga can come here to grow, can come here to really be better human beings. This is one of the places on the brink of human consciousness and human expansionness. So Rishikesh is a beautiful place. If you feel called by Ma Ganga and Himalaya, then please come visit Rishikesh. It's one of the most beautiful places on this planet, and one of the most unique places to experience spirituality, yoga, meditation, and just Mother Nature. One thing I want to mention about my work, and even why I feel like we are having this conversation today, because in our conversation you also mentioned that you are Sri Vidya, you're connected with Sri Vidya sadhana, and one of the main parts of my work, like I've mentioned in the beginning, is to really center and honor the divine feminine. And if you are a woman watching this, or even if you're a man watching this, or however you identify, allowing yourself to truly honor the feminine within you, allowing yourself to be in this softness, be in this vulnerability, be in your authenticity, and really honor what it means to be a woman. Because the woman right now has been so used and abused and so disrespected that I know that Devi is channeling through me to be on this land and to give this message to all of you. Truly honoring your divine feminine, honoring your mothers, your sisters, the women in your life, to really allow them to be women. Because a lot of times in this world, how this world is evolving, a lot of times I feel like I have to be a man to survive. If I'm not in my masculine, if I'm not in my man, then I'll get eaten alive. And allowing there to be spaces where we can feel safe, where we can feel safe to share, where we can be safe to be vulnerable, where we can center our divine feminine. And if you need support or help with that, then please reach out. I think Anandji will tag all my profiles below, but this is what I'm very, very passionate about, is honoring your Shakti.
Do you also have a plan to give this the mental health education in part of schools in India? Or
so I was working with some organizations that were giving this education to schools in India. Now I mostly work as a consultant. So if someone reaches out to me to consult or to help them create a curriculum for some holistic education, I'm very happy to do that. But now my focus is really on, you know, creating these spaces outside in which people are really ready to level up themselves. Because I can't help you if you're not really willing to help yourself. And sometimes I've noticed with organizations or with school systems, there's just a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of red tape. But I'm 100% open if people are connecting to this message and looking for someone like me to really help them build something holistic.
so how much you grateful for your mom and dad, like, which brings you toward both the culture, Western and Indian?
My ma bapa, my Shiva and Shakti. They have given me so much. My dad is a cardiologist. He's a doctor. My mom was in finance, and I really can thank her for allowing me to experiment and expand so much with my creativity. My dad has given me the philosophy, the poetry, the culture of India through, Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Mirza Ghalib, Kabir, taking us to gurdwaras, taking us to temples, taking us to India.
Who's your favorite tennis player?
My favorite tennis player?
You inspired? And why you love him or her?
I think as for a woman, it's definitely Serena Williams.
Okay.
She was the first woman of color that had so much fierceness, so much power, so much Shakti, and was so bold.
She's the Nelson Mandela of US in US.
The Nelson Mandela in the US. I guess you could say that. Yeah, she's someone who's given so much power and so much freedom, so much strength to so many women who've watched her. I'm really grateful for Serena and Venus. Venus is also a really beautiful tennis player as well. Both sisters have inspired me so much on my journey and given me so much power.
Thank you for sharing your journey with us, and we wish that you will more give a light to the new generations.
Thank you.
Namaste.